All right, welcome everyone. Happy Wednesday. We got a full crowd again tonight. That's great. Few things for tonight. We are going to probably spend some time on approving minutes from the last three meetings, December 18th, the 8th, and the 15th. They will then go to the Selectmen's report. And then I thought what we would do for the budget, Kim and I chatted. You have a few sheets in front of you. You've gotten the latest copy of the comparative budget, Town of New London, which has all the departments and the funds for each of those. Thought what we would do is go down the line and, for example, start with executives, see if there's any comments, questions on executives, anybody wants to make motions, go through that line by line and vote on each of those, which gets us to the total. And then from there, we can review the warrant articles and then talk about other business. Missing anything, Kim? Oh, that's right. We'll go over revenues. Thank you. All right. So why don't we start with the minutes? Does anyone have any edits? Well, let's start with December 18th, since that was the most outstanding. I know that there was a request for adding in language around the police cruiser, which I think has now been put in there. So any questions or changes on the December 18th minutes? Okay.
Move that we accept the December 18th minutes, or do you want to put them all as one?
I was here for some, so maybe we should.
We'll do them individually.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion to accept. Any seconds?
Second.
Seconds from John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move on to the January 8th minutes. Any suggested edits, changes, grammatical?
I move that we accept the January minutes.
Any seconds?
Second.
Second by John. All those in favor? Aye. And then we'll finally move on to the January 15th minutes, which was last week. Any comments, questions?
I have a couple.
Yep.
Page 4, bottom, it was the vote regarding recreation. The opposed has Tilly as opposed. I thought, John, you abstained.
Yes, I abstained. I did not oppose, correct. Thank you, Charlie.
And in the second to last boldface, IT was moved. Mark Christensen, spelling correction.
Okay, well, all right. Good catch.
And then page 6, Conservation Fund. Last spelling of my name is with a Y, not an IE.
All right. Any other discussions or suggested changes? All right. Any motions to accept the changes that Charlie mentioned and accept the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. All right, we'll move on to the Selectmen's report.
Okay, we've had a couple meetings since our last budget committee meeting.
Need your microphone?
A couple meetings since our last budget committee meeting. January 22nd, we met to discuss the proposed warrant articles for the police facilities for Phase 2 of the police facility project. First, we reviewed the terms of the purchase and sale agreement for the Garvey property. The purchase price agreed upon is $350,000, and there are a couple of contingencies that have been negotiated. First one being the price. Second is that a public way be constructed on the property that takes sort of a road that will go around to the back of the property. Dark sky lighting, which is the lighting that the college is trying to put in on Kelsey Field, and a right of first refusal to purchase the property back from the town at the same amount of $350,000 if the town is unsuccessful in building a new police facility. We also talked about possible options for warrant articles and how to pay for the next phase, which totals $955,000. That includes $350,000 for the purchase price, $50,000 for related closing expenses, and the other $550,000 for property-related expenses like excavation and engineering, as outlined in the numbers that we got from LBA and Colliers. Bill suggested, he was trying to think creatively, that we do 2 warrant articles and use unspent fund balance, which you all have been learning about, and which we use in the fall to adjust our tax rate. There's a balance in there of $1.8 million. So he was thinking maybe we use some of that money to purchase the property and then take a bond for the other $555,000. So we discussed that. We went around and around, and some folks in the audience made some comments as well. And so then we kind of thought about it for a few days, and we came back yesterday and met again, and we decided that we're not going to do it that way, that we're going to try to keep it as simple as possible and just do 1 warrant article for the total amount of $955,000 that we will take a bond for. And that has been reflected on that summary that you have now, both in the capital outlay number and in the interest number. Okay, so that is that.
And so,
Go
just
ahead.
to that, the 955, and Charlie made a good point, the debt interest has been lowered
Correct,
from the previous amount because it's reduced to 950.
to 955 from 2 million, yep.
All right.
Okay. We also had a discussion on whether we might want to consider doing a study on the dispatch center. This was suggested to us by 1 or 2 residents, and I suggested that this be considered in fiscal year 2026 when we have a new member on the Board of Selectmen and when we have a new town administrator. So that recommendation was accepted by all 3 selectmen, and so that conversation will be continued. As for the town administrator, Kim has announced that she is retiring at the end of June. The selectmen have retained the services of MRI consultants to aid with the search for her replacement. We'll be starting to advertise shortly and hope to have someone hired. I'd like to see someone hired in 90 days if possible. We'd like to, and the reason why is because I'd like somebody to start early before she leaves at the end of June and try to shadow her for a bit of time, because you've got a lot of knowledge up there that you're going to have to share with the next person. So we're very lucky and grateful to have had Kim for 14 years as the town administrator, and we will miss her very much. The next night, the selectmen reconsidered the $50,000 that was removed from the Recreation Department budget from the director's salary line, and we put that money back into our version of the budget. And we also met with the general manager of Mount Sunapee to discuss the issue with the septic lagoons up there. For those of you who may not know this, the septic system at Mount Sunapee was installed in 1971. New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services discovered through testing that there are some issues with the system, and they are requiring that Mount Sunapee Vail Resorts submit a plan to remediate the issues by February 1st. We look forward to seeing that plan and doing whatever we can to support Mount Sunapee and Vail in their efforts to update the septic system. We must make sure that we don't have a catastrophic event where the system goes into failure and sewage ends up in Lake Sunapee. As Elizabeth Harper from LSPA stated, it would cost much more to clean up after an event like that than it would to update the over 50-year-old system at Mount Sunapee. So she asked to speak to us. She's going around to all the different towns. She's only 4 months on the job. She's got a lot on her plate, but it was very positive. And so we're looking forward to seeing the plans of Mount Sunapee. So that's it.
Thanks, BB. Any questions for BB?
2. Question for Lynn related to the debt. What's the rate of interest that we use to calculate our debt?
So I reached out to the bond bank for that, and they gave me let me make sure I'm reading the right one. Nope, that's not the right one. They gave me an amortization schedule, and they gave me a 4.5%, which is actually a little higher than what their last offering was, so they're being a little conservative.
Okay, thank you. BB, am I correct also that there was discussion with the general manager of Sunapee in regard to actions they're taking, but also the expense that will be associated with updating the system, and I heard that that expense was acknowledged to be an expense for Vail Resorts, not for the town of New London or the surrounding towns. Is that?
That is correct. It looks through some, nobody's really seen the lease agreement between the state and Vail.
Right.
But from information from people, Karen Ebel's been having conversations, it looks like Vail is responsible for all infrastructure costs, thankfully.
Yeah.
Is there a figure?
No, not yet.
Epic passes will go up in price next year. Okay, anything else for BB? All right, so again, we have a couple of items. You have your Town of New London comparative budget. You also have your 23-page sheet, which has each of the line items for the departmental budgets, capital reserves, et cetera. I thought we would start, again, just from the top with executive, and go down the list. We can go through each one and see if there are any outstanding budget questions or issues with each of the departments, and then we would take a vote for the departments. So why don't we start with the executive fund? Lynn, do you want to keep me honest and we can go in order, starting with executive, or? So the total amount is $445,260 for the budget. Any questions or outstanding comments for executive?
Make a motion to approve 445260.
Any seconds?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No opposition. Okay, town clerk election, 162,777. Any questions, comments? 162,777.
I make a motion to approve 162777.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, finance, 480,577.
Can I ask you?
Yeah, John, go ahead.
Just so I get tuned in, what is the date on the budget sheets that we're using here?
This one, John?
Yeah, no, these.
Yeah. The one that I have is 11125 at 9:56 a.m.
I have 1125. Okay, so then,
Okay, and what is the number
Where'd you get that?
that you have on that sheet for town clerk?
that's,
So I
It's
think
the
what you're saying-
142.27.
John, I think what you're saying for town clerk is the 142.27 plus 22,550.
Right, they used to be one department, and I had to split it out for Questica, but there's still one on the summary.
I got it, thanks.
Okay.
All right. Yes, so if Karen, sorry. you have a question.
No, thank you. So what sheet should we have for the big sheet? We're referring to this, are we?
So we have this sheet, which is the comparative budget.
Right, I have that.
And then you also have your latest. copy
Revenue.
which has all of the individual line items of the.
Got it. Wait, this one here. And that's dated 1/29.
Yes,
No, that's for revenue.
Okay?
the last one for budget is 11125 at 9:56 a.m.
Probably has a big silver.
Came out in the last meeting.
Okay.
It's in like a little clicky clip.
Yeah.
Can someone show me what they have and make sure, see if I have it? Oh, that's in my book already. Yeah, great, thank you. Got it. Put it there already, so we're good. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And that, again, if you have a discussion or want to bring up a line item, and, we can talk about that with using this sheet. All right, and, yes, go
I
ahead.
just want to say that for Department 4150 and 4151 are combined on the summary sheet
For finance,
for finance.
okay. All right, so any discussions on finance?
move that we accept 480,577.
Any s- All right, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Okay, we'll move down to assessing, 10188. I see a nod from Lynn. Any discussions? And if I'm going too fast, please tell me.
Point of order, is there any way we could bundle some of these, or is it better to go one by one? Like we could go all the way down to probably line 4210, unless somebody has.
I'm happy to be efficient. Does anyone have, maybe the question is, does anyone have any line items or budget items that they would like to potentially discuss or make motions on?
Okay. Up until 4210. I do have a motion on 4210, the police.
I think being my first time around, I would appreciate going line by line.
That's totally fine.
It's just a little cleaner for me, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Great. All right, so we'll move on to legal.
Nope, we didn't do assessing.
I thought we just did assessing.
We vote? Okay.
Yeah, we did.
Sorry.
That's all right. So legal at $20,500.
So move, $20,500.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. 4155, Personnel Administration, 146, 192. Any discussions?
Make a motion to approve.
A second.
146, 192.
Second by Lou. All those in favor? Any opposed? No? Okay. Zoning and Planning, 149, 205.
I make a motion to accept 149,205.
Any seconds?
Second.
Seconded by John. All those in favor?
Wait,
Oh, John?
where,
Question?
slow down just a second. What are, on this sheet, what's,
3 sections are combined for that one also.
okay. All right. All right, got it. Thank you.
No worries. All right, so should we retake of that vote? Or were you opposed or a yay?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay.
So that was all yays?
Just needed to know what it was. Huh?
Yeah, no. I get it. Okay. Next line is buildings, 281, 435.
Move that we accept 281, 435.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Move to cemetery, 32,733.
Move that we accept 32,733.
I'll second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Other insurance, 152, 636.
Make a motion to approve 152,636.
I will second.
All right. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. Associations,
No,
So that's
other insurance.
Advertising.
advertising, and yeah.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve 22,309.
All right. All those in favor? Any opposed? No? All right. All right. You said you had a question about police.
Yes, one of the places I volunteer is at Manchester Airport, and I'm looking at the Londonderry Police Department and talked to them. They're right now, they're looking at, okay. I'll start again. I volunteer at Manchester Airport. I have a lot of conversations with the Londonderry Police Department. Right now, some of their officers, to get a credential officer, they're looking at $25,000, $30,000 a year, $30,000 bonus. I understand that when we made some cuts, it was in the spirit of everybody sharing the pain, et cetera, et cetera. However, when we cut first responders' budgets, I am absolutely uncomfortable, and that needs to be utterly justified, in my opinion. The accreditation, that's at the bottom of page 9. It was minus 100%. I don't think that's justified, and I'd like to put those $2,000 back, because that, in my opinion, is, our police department budget is not frugal. It is fairly adjusted, and I think we're basically asking the police department to take it out of hide, because when they hire a new police officer, they're going to have to accredit him or her anyway. So that is number one. I move that we restored the $2,000 to the accreditation. I also move that we, okay.
Do one at a time.
Okay, one at a time.
Yeah. All right, so why don't we have any discussions around that? Chief, do you want to maybe discuss or your thoughts on that accreditation?
Sure. The accreditation program was reconstituted in New Hampshire over the past couple of years. It was one of the recommendations that came out of the 2020 Lee Act Commission, was a recommendation that police departments get accredited. There's a couple of different ways you can go about that. The first is through CALEA, which is the Commission for Accreditation of Law Enforcement Agencies. That's a much more expensive method to get accredited. But also then the state of New Hampshire, they had it a long time ago, but they stood up again their own accreditation program, which is monitored and administered by the Police Standards and Training. And so what has happened over the past couple of years is, since that has come out and it was a strong recommendation by the state of New Hampshire but not mandated, they started offering grant money in order to entice departments to become accredited. So we haven't yet started the accreditation process. Anyone who's ever been through an accreditation process knows it's very, very time intensive, and it requires a lot of hours to go toward getting your policies, your facilities, and other things just up to par. So there is currently grant funding available for the accreditation process in New Hampshire, but as with anything, who knows if that grant funding will be available when we are ready to begin that process in FY '26. So that would be the reason for the ask. I had taken it out at one of the earlier meetings on kind of taking a risk that that grant money might still be available when we're ready to start that process, but I just don't know.
Could I ask if you were comfortable, I know it was a while back, but you seem to be comfortable with the $2,000 being removed?
I think with it being removed, again, yes, it was at the chance of there still being grant money available. I think the $2,000 is a pretty good amount, knowing what it costs for a department of our size to become accredited. So I think that that's still a safe number to use. With it coming out, it was just in an effort to show a good faith effort that we're trying to really sharpen our pencils with the police department budget. Again, taking a risk that that grant money will be available.
And if there were any other line items that were lower, we could use, just say gas was lower than what was expected, that money could be used for accreditation, right?
Yes, yeah, I wouldn't put accreditation in my gas line item, but if I underspent one line item, bottom line, yes, absolutely.
It's
Yep.
still, and I feel very strongly that we're asking, we don't have, and especially as we're looking at the national budget basically becoming a monopoly game, there's no guarantee that we're going to get the grant. I would much rather have a police department being able to accredit their officers fully, and then if the grant comes through, that can be returned into the general revenue, than the police department having to take it out of hide and take it from other sources. So that is my gist, and I am absolutely in favor of it.
John?
Chief Cobb, I know there's a grant. I know we may not get the grant. I didn't catch, where is the grant coming from? Where's the money? Where does the money originate from?
Through the state of New Hampshire, there's been a fund set up to help with accreditation efforts of departments. I don't know exactly what
And
department.
yeah, I was going to
State
say,
of
do you
Hampshire.
know where the state, is that general funds, or is that like a block grant? Or I'm sorry, I'm deep in.
I don't know that one. I don't know that answer. I could
I'm trying
find
to
it out
answer
for
his
you.
question.
Yeah, I could find that out, but I don't know
Yeah, no,
exactly
no.
where that comes from.
Thank you.
I hadn't looked into it too deeply because we hadn't started the process
Yeah.
yet.
Karen?
Appreciate that, thank you.
Hi, Chief Cobb. Are there any, down the road, to maintain accreditation, are there any expectations of certain type of expenditures that would be required for that? I'm just thinking, is it a standard that we need to reach that would be outside of what may be a normal course?
I don't know if it's outside the normal course. There will be some ongoing costs associated with maintaining the accreditation, also maintaining our policies in an online software, which the state of New Hampshire partnered with a company on. We already have that software actually built into our program, but it's the cost to maintain the accreditation going forward. So yes, there would be, but it's all in an effort to be up to best practices and have the best standards.
And what do you anticipate those costs being going forward?
I don't know exactly how much they'll be going forward, but I think that the $2,000 is to get the accreditation program up and running, and then the costs are different in the years going forward. I could find those answers out, though, if you'd like.
All right, so we have a motion from Lou, seconded by Mark, to put the $2,000 back into the budget under the accreditation line item. We'll take a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? What was the number? All right, so it did not pass.
Okay.
Okay, you had another
Yes.
motion?
The new employee line, that was, new employee, I'm trying to think, there's a, it is on page 10, the 6 from the top, new employee expense.
5,200.
5,000, yeah, I move that we increase it by 5,000.
Is there a rationale?
And yes, there is, considering that new employee expenses, if we end up, and I think we haven't made that, we live in a bubble, basically, in London, and we haven't seen the real effects of the how do you call it, procurement accession of new police officers. We're talking $15,000, $20,000. What we're asking for is a pittance compared to what the rest of the state has. We did have one police officer that unfortunately left the position, and if we're going to end up with a replacement, we need a vigorous accreditation, a vigorous, procurement problem for police officers in this town.
Chief, could we get your comments on that?
Sure. Yep, so new employee expense, that covers the cost of a new employee to clothe them from start to finish. So in 2020, FY23, you'll see we spent just over that $5,000 because we had a new police officer who we totally and completely upfitted that year. We didn't have anyone that we needed, any new employees that we needed to outfit in FY24. And so far in FY25, we also didn't have any, but that's the cost to outfit one police officer generally from start to finish. We do try to reuse equipment if we can, if it's still in good shape, but there are some things that you just can't reuse, like clothing typically doesn't transfer over too much. The vests don't. Our vest, the vest in and of itself is over $1,000. I think it was $1,200 or $1,300, and then you add on all the other items that we have on here. So that's the cost to outfit one employee. I don't take money out of that item to replace things for existing employees. So if I need a new vest next year, that comes out of uniform and safety equipment, but that's just for one police officer, start to finish, for the whole gamut.
Okay. Any other questions or discussions?
Comment, Direct Lou and Chief Cobb, I think we voted to make a significant increase in our per diem compensation from $1 to $3.
Shift
Or shift
differential.
differential, sorry. And that was a desired investment to fairly compensate, but put us in the lead in relationship to compensation of surrounding towns. And so I viewed that as a significant investment to address recruitment, because you're going to come to New London, you're going to work in a great department in a great town, and we're going to pay you well. So I think we've done that in the budget, and I wouldn't suggest doing more at this juncture.
Yeah, I'd also add, I think, again, if that happened, I think there is room in the budget to find that money if we had to pay for 2 officers, just given the past years and the budgets and then the actuals. It just feels like such a low amount that we could find that money to do that. I understand your question and concern. I don't feel like it's such a large expense that we need to increase it, because I think it would be there if we needed it.
Yeah, and my point is that it's such a small amount that it really doesn't make a big difference if we allow the police department to have extra funding so they can outfit, procure, and recruit their troops accordingly. And again, I have been on the receiving end as a military officer, watching our budget dwindle and dwindle and dwindle, and being told to do more with less. Frankly, if you're, so I think when it comes to first responders, I think we need to all become concerned and realize that our first responder community needs the funding that they require to do their job, and that's fire, police, public works, and health services.
Any other comments? Karen?
I guess maybe this is kind of tied into what Lou was speaking about. And Kim and I, we spoke on Monday. We chatted about some potential opportunities for savings on the police cruiser as it related to the state procurement bid. And I know it was probably time was tight, but you were going to circle back with the chief just to get her thoughts on that, because there may be an opportunity for $3,000 in terms of what is the base price of the cruiser. So I just put that out there if we're looking for some flexibility in the budget, that could in fact be an opportunity for savings in that particular line item.
Right. Well, let's go back to Lou's motion. So your motion was to increase by how much?
$5,000.
So adding 5,000, so $10,250. Any seconds? Okay, I don't have any seconds.
All right.
All right. And then, so Karen, do you want to make a motion on the cruiser?
Yes, and in the context of Kim and I, we had this conversation earlier in the week, and I don't know whether you've had a chance to review it with the chief, so that's what I wanted to bring to the fore, that there may be an opportunity there for $3,000.
So are you making a motion to reduce the line item for the new cruiser from 60,000 to 57,000?
Yes, when we looked at there's a report that the chief had shared. I think it was included, it was distributed by Kim earlier in the week, and addressing that 55 down, bringing that down to 50, 52, because that is the state procurement bid price. And
I just want to make sure that's the motion.
yes, that would be the motion.
57,000. Any comments, questions?
So I just, I wanted to open it up to get a reaction from the chief on that. Thank you.
I do have some information on that. I spoke with the gentleman who we deal with at McMulkin Chevrolet, and he explained to me that that difference in money is the difference of the base vehicle that state police get, and we get a same vehicle but different equipment options. We have a different paint color, so that's exactly where that comes from. The spotlight the state police don't get, they get a different one that they pay for then after the fact. The dome light, a certain safety package, so that is exactly where that difference comes from. State police they still get a Chevy Tahoe, but different equipment. We get a Chevy Tahoe with other equipment. That's the difference.
So can I circle back?
Sure.
Yeah, so what we're saying then is the base price is the same, but there are options that get put on top of that would move the price, make the price higher based on options that are selected.
With the specs that we get,
Yes.
yes, the price is $54,987.
And that includes those additional
Yes, some of that
specifications.
equipment. The difference is in the equipment.
Yes.
Again, the paint, we get
Yeah.
a
Well, that
color
is-
paint. But
yeah.
then the state police, they take whatever color the car comes in, and then they go paint it state police colors. So again, that's an added cost, so they pay for it on their end as
No,
well.
I totally get that, and I very much appreciate the clarification. Thank
Sure.
you.
Any other comments or questions for Chief on this?
Yeah, I don't think we need to replace this car. It's got 69, probably 71 or 2,000 miles on it right now. As far as I can see, with regard to Tahoes in the state, they're getting 130 to, some places they're talking about 150,000 miles. And when I look across other places too, the police are looking to get at least 120,000 miles out of the car. So I see that that this car's got, in my calculations, 3.68 years of life left on it. And the reason for replacing it that I was given was that we have the two Challengers that are going to be coming due at the same time supposedly the Tahoe would be coming due, and that would be a big spike that year in the cost. I don't think we give up 3 to 4 years of a life of a car just because of an accounting problem. I think it's that car is worth $80,000 to us. It's not worth the $8,000 auction price. So I'm against funding that car.
So noted, but we have a motion on the floor for reducing the line item to 57,000. So I would like to see if there are any seconds on your original, unless you want to change your motion.
No, I would like to withdraw the motion now that it's been outlined, the incremental, how that number was derived. I appreciate
So
that.
you'd like to keep it at 60?
I will keep it at what it is.
60.
Yes, thank you.
John, do you have, is your motion to reduce that to 0?
It is.
Okay, so John has a motion to reduce that line item to 0. Any comments, questions, discussion?
I'd like to hear the chief's. Yeah.
Chief, go ahead first.
Okay. That hasn't been our experience, keeping it. I do not believe that that car has another 3 to 4 years left in it. Our experience with the Tahoe, and we just got rid of one, it had 102,000 miles on it when it was auctioned. And in FY24, we spent almost $11,500 in maintenance on that vehicle, on that Chevy Tahoe. So in my opinion, that's not been our experience, that we could get 120, 130,000 miles out of a Tahoe. And again, the most recent Tahoe that we had, we spent some considerable money repairing it, especially in its later years.
Question for the chief as well. At one of our meetings, you discussed that we utilize hours as well as miles to determine the length of our, the longevity of our cars, and I was wondering if you could address that a little more clearly.
Sure, yeah.
Tell us how that may be playing a factor here.
I met a rabbit hole today, and I went straight down it with engine hours and engine miles and whatnot. And it was offered to me last week that you can take a vehicle, take its engine hours, and multiply it by 30, and that's what you get for kind of the actual miles on the vehicle. Well, then I wondered why 30. And I look into it, and I'm not an expert. This is just my own research, and 30 is kind of the average speed of the vehicle. And I thought, well, I'm not really sure that Tahoe has an average speed of 30. So I look it up, and there's actually an equation you can do to attain what your average speed might be on that vehicle, and it's 10 miles an hour for that Tahoe. Because again, we're not bombing up and down the highway all the time. We're driving around town. So then I looked at it, and the engine hours on that vehicle is going to be approximately the same as that mileage is the 71,000. So I didn't want to just use that equation of take the engine hours and multiply it by 30 if I thought that wasn't entirely a genuine representation of what our vehicle is used for. So it's got, as of today, 71,130 miles on it, and it's approximately got 7,200 engine hours on it. But again, for the idea of us to keep that vehicle for another 3 years, I just don't see it. especially considering what our experience has been recently with Tahoes and the maintenance required on those.
All right, so we have a motion.
Can I
Yeah,
respond?
sure, John,
No.
go ahead, yeah, sorry.
So we don't take it for 3.68 years. Maybe we take it for 2 more years. I don't see where we give up on a car that's running well. And we're just giving up value here for, and my further suggestion is, and we're not going to be able to deal with that right now, is that we go back to having a capital reserve for police vehicles so that we can sort of level out the expenditures for vehicles and also have money put away in case it doesn't go 3.68 years. You can get it in 2.68 years. But it just, I think we're giving up value that we have right here for, and the thing's running all right now. So,
I'm also trying to keep in mind, I mean, we're in the FY '26 budget right now, or we're in FY '25, we're proposing FY '26. I'm trying to keep in mind big picture of what might be before the town in FY '27. And so in an effort to try and mitigate any of those additional costs in FY '27, I'm trying to be responsible and replace what I think needs replacing now, rather than try and put things off that I think need replacing.
All right, so we have the motion from John to reduce that line item to 0. Are there any seconds on that? Is it a,
Can I add something?
sure.
I guess what I wanted to pick up on, Chief, was your explanation, and appreciate the fact that you're trying to get ahead of something, is to John's point that we have this kind of unique situation where it's almost, like an accounting issue. I think that's how you expressed it, John, that we're trying to work with. And I would just support the case that if it's in fact, if there's life in those cars, that we should try and get the maximum out of those cars and defer the purchase if at all possible.
I did look at leasing options as well. I explored the leasing options potentially for the future too, and that's an option that we might have before us at some point, especially if we have 2 cars that need to be due the same year.
I'm going to go back to the motion. Karen, do you want to second the motion from John?
Yes, I would like to second
Okay.
the motion.
So we have a second on the motion to reduce the $60,000. Let's take a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, we'll keep the $60,000. Any other questions on police?
Don't we need to do the full?
Yeah, I was just saying, before we get to the total, if we have any other questions. All right, so we have a total budget of $1,682,891.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? All right, passes. Let's move on to fire. I just want to make sure, just based on the last discussion we had, is the 848, that is the official?
Do you want me to stay up here for dispatch? Or, nope.
I mean, you don't have to, unless people have questions. Is that what we have 848,084. I just want to make sure that,
Yeah, mine's including fire awards, so yes.
okay,
You are
so
correct.
let's do them, can we do them together? Let's just do them together. So fire for 848,084 and fire awards for 436. Any questions or discussion?
Yes, that includes the additional staff.
That would include the head count.
Yes, it does.
Is there any discussion?
Move that we accept.
Oh, Karen has a question or discussion.
Thank you. It's sort of not directly relevant to this particular budget, but I just wanted to, as this evening might move quickly, I didn't want it to fall off the radar for me anyways. This is a big change that we've seen put forward by Chief Lyon in regard to the fire department budget. We're looking to add a full-time person for the FY '26 budget and likely to additional firefighters in subsequent years. So what I'd like to ask Chief Lyon if, after we get through this, if we could, if Chief Lyon could present to us come back to us with a plan for how those additional firefighters would fit in, and fit into the force, a strategic plan in that regard, so that we can see down the road. My understanding is that the chief will be applying for a grant or two come spring. So I'd be very interested how those new individuals, if they were to get approved or hired, that how they would fit in with the force going forward. So I would like to make that request. Thank you.
Would you like to answer that?
We have that strategic plan.
Yep.
We're happy to share that. One of the intentions of the colored sheet that I'd given was to try to explain it, and it's difficult. Negotiate around this mic. So that would be this sheet right here. And so it actually shows the track and schedule of what we're doing and how we're trying to do it. And then in the green, that would be an indication if we did receive the SAFER grant for 2 additional firefighters. With the notification of yesterday's announcement, I'm not sure what that looks like moving forward for the emergency services, police, fire, EMS, Homeland Security, all sorts of stuff. I mean, I think there's going to be some changes, and what those changes look like are yet to be determined. So we're still looking at a phased-in approach, and I'm happy to either discuss it with the entire budget committee, and maybe I know that you had mentioned, Karen, that on the sort of off-season having those discussions, but I do think it's important to look at the ramifications of what we're looking to do and how we're looking to do it. We do have a plan, and it's just a matter of explaining it to everyone in a way that makes sense. So, but I appreciate your inquiry.
Thank you. No, that sounds like a good plan to show the plan, so thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or discussion on fire? Right.
Move that we approve 648, 848, 8084.
So we're going to combine the two together.
And
So it would be 848, 520. So was there a motion to approve fire and fire awards for 848, 520?
So moved.
Any second? Second from Lindsay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Emergency management, 11,450. Any discussion? Make a motion to approve 11,450 for emergency management. All right, I have a second. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Recuse.
Okay. Dispatch, any discussion on dispatch, 680, 683? Any discussion?
Move that we accept 680, 683 for dispatch. Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? No? All right. Highway Administration, 1,178,391. Any discussion on highway? I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
All those in favor? Any no opposed? Highways and Streets, 612,700. Any discussion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second? All those in favor? Any opposed? No. Street lighting, $12,000. I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Transfer station, $555,622. Any discussion?
Move we approve 555, 622.
Any seconds?
A second.
Second from John. All right. All those in favor? All right. Any opposed? Solid waste, 42,750. Well, let's see if there's any discussion first. No discussion. So Lindsay has a motion to approve.
Second.
Second from Lou. All those in favor? Any opposed? No, okay. Health Administration, $6,271. Any discussion? All right. Any second? Well, I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
All those in favor? All right. Health Agencies, 245, 158. Any discussion?
Move we approve 245, 158.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Nope. Okay. Welfare Administration, 16,598. Any discussion?
I have just a clarification question. This was, the addition was for a more appropriate salary or stipend for the, okay, thank you. I just didn't remember.
Yep. Okay. Any other discussion or questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Any opposed? No? None opposed? Welfare, $6,000. Any discussion? I'll make a motion to accept. Any seconds? All those in favor? Aye. Welfare payments, $40,000. Any discussion?
Move we approve for $40,000.
I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. No opposed? Recreation, $236,929, and that is with the $50,000 back into the line item. Any discussion? Karen?
I would like to make a motion to reduce the recreation budget by $2,000 because it was very kindly offered up on all three scenarios by the director of the Recreation Department and by the Recreation Commission that they could take $2,000 out of the budget, which is, I think, in special events. And so I'd like I'd like to make a motion to take them up on that offer to reduce their budget by $2,000 that was presented at the previous meeting.
All right, let's have a discussion. Putnam, do you want to come up to the podium? I seem to recall the last meeting, and Mark, tell me if I'm wrong, the discussion was that that money was Halloween, that was 10,000, but that money could also be used for other events, potentially.
You are correct.
There it is.
Yes,
So is the plan to use that full 12,500 for other events?
yes, that money could be utilized other places for sure.
Okay.
For other special events.
And you're planning to use it?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Could I add something?
Sure, go ahead.
I just, I have the perspective that after the, this perspective I have on this is after the October meeting where department heads shared their budget presentations with the Board of Selectmen, that there were numerous cuts, numerous opportunities for savings put forward to department heads, and by restoring the full 50,000, we have a bit of an exception here where other departments had to live with some amount of cuts that by restoring the full 50, that is not true with the Recreation Department. So I made this, motion out of a sense of trying to be more fair, kind of across the board, and the expectation that there'd be some absorption of cuts. So that was my background in making that motion. Thank you.
Yeah, Mark?
Thank you. From my understanding, the budget was cut, right? We're on a negative 2 point, where are we?
Negative 3% compared to last year.
So he already came in with a cut.
Yep. Okay. So there's a motion to reduce the special events line item by $2,000 to $10,500? Is that your motion?
That would be my motion. Thank you.
Okay. Any seconds? Okay, we'll take a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Opposed, have it. We'll keep it at $12,500. Do I have any motions to accept the 236,929?
I'll make a motion to approve 236,929.
Any seconds? Lou, got your pen?
Yep, I got it.
Okay.
Easy.
All those in favor of accepting the 236,929? Opposed? Karen, are you accepted or opposed? Sorry.
I'm sorry, I jumped ahead,
That's
so,
okay.
excuse me, I do not, can
You
you?
oppose?
I oppose,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, just wanted to make sure we got the right people. All right, library, 756, 695. Any discussion on library? All right, any motions to accept? I'll make the motion to accept. Any seconds? All right, we'll get the second from Lou this time. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, ayes have it. Patriotic purposes, $300. How about we just say, well, anyone may make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. All right. Archives and culture, $7,000. Any discussion?
Move to accept?
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? No. Conservation, $26,380. Any discussion? Okay, I'll make a motion to accept $26,380.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Energy Commission, $900. Any discussion?
I'll make a motion for $900.
I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope. Okay. Other conservation, $31,400. Any comments or discussion?
Don't kill me, I'm sorry. I don't remember what the other is exactly.
Kim, would you like to explain or?
Milfoil Garden Club,
That's back, okay,
Care of Trees.
okay. Thank you.
Okay.
That's back, what is it?
Any discussion? Any motions?
I'll move to put 31.4.
Any seconds? All those in favor? Any opposed? No. Housing Commission, $6,500. Discussion?
Make a motion to approve $6,500.
I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Debt service principal, $310,205. Not that we really can change that. Any discussion on debt service? Karen?
I have a question. If the debt service is tied to a capital outlay that, let's say, or any of those other capital expenses, borrowing that is not approved, does that automatically come out of this debt service? I'm just trying to think, are we getting ahead on that particular item?
No, we need to put all of the debt service and interest that applies to current debt and also what we will be bringing to town meeting.
Okay.
We need to raise and appropriate. If at town meeting something doesn't go through, we do a report of actually appropriated. After town meeting, we will then do another report saying exactly what was spent, because there could be changes at town meeting, increase, decrease.
Got it, thank you.
Any other discussion on debt services principal? All right, I'll make a motion to accept 310,205. Any seconds? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Debt service interest, again, this is lowered since last time because of the $3 million being reduced to $955 in the capital outlay for land. So the number is $125,928. Any discussion? I'll make a motion to accept debt service interest at 125,928. Second from John. All those in favor? Aye. Kim, keep me honest, do we have to now vote, since all the line items match up, do we have to vote on the total? No, okay. So we should move to warrant articles.
So everybody remembers that there could still be more warrant articles. There's a petition period that hasn't ended. The selectmen could add some. There's none that I'm aware of now, so I'm going to touch on the ones that we do know today. Okay, so for warrant articles that we are using capital reserve funds, we have $132,303, which is our payment on fire engine 2. We have $350,000 for fire breathing apparatus. We have $275,000 for a new chassis for tanker 1. We have $60,000 for exterior repairs to Tracy Memorial Library. We will also have a warrant article for $25,000 for the purpose of town website improvements, which will include ADA improvements. We also have $40,000, which would be for the historic markers, and the selectmen will be using the Addie Gay Fund and also the James Emery Fund. These are monies that have been left to the town many, many years ago. So neither one of those accounts is $40,000, so we'll be taking 20 from each of those two funds. We also have the expendable trust fund that will be used to pay out accumulated leave time owed to employees upon separation of employment. You remember that we used to have that in the operating budget. This will be an expendable trust fund. It'll be non-lapsing, so we won't have to put money into it unless the balance goes lower. And finally, the $955,000 that BB mentioned earlier, that will be a bond, so it'll be a 3/5 ballot vote. That's what we have today so far for warrant articles, special warrant articles.
So we have to go back and vote on the transfer to capital reserves, correct? Right.
So that's funds going into the savings account.
Correct.
What I just read out, most of these will be funds coming out of the capital reserves. This will also be putting a little over $1 million. Do you have the list of those, Lynn? Or you have them?
It's kind of a chicken scratch, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's $1,156,000. And,
I think she includes the,
Are you including that 75,000 in that?
oh, good point.
And what is the other, I guess, yeah.
transfers.
She's using this number, which we'd read.
So we have on our sheets 1,090,000 for transfer to capital reserves. Is that the right number?
Can't answer that. Give me half a heartbeat.
We'll take a slight math break.
Yeah, take a math break. My brain's not functioning at full capacity today. Oh, yeah. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
Thank
we're
you.
Voting on the right amount.
Wait, what was that, John?
So it's the 1156123 plus.
Should it be 1156 plus the?
Oh, and the 66.
No, that doesn't work either.
Okay, that's it. So 109, so we have 66,000 on here. 109 is here, and 66 is down here, so that's right.
I don't know what.
2, 3.
Yeah, Lynn, it's
Sorry.
this 1156 is this plus 66,000.
It is? Oh, okay.
We got it.
Okay.
That includes the sewer.
You have your list of them?
I do have my list.
Okay, she'll read them. And you all have You got this proposed capital reserve fund activity sheet, I think, a couple of
But
weeks
no,
ago.
that doesn't, but that one includes the sewer.
It does have the 66.
Right, but what
Oh.
they're trying to get to is this number plus this number. They're looking here, and it says transfer to capital reserve 1090,
Which is correct.
Oh,
which is correct, but you
Yeah.
have to add the 66.
And the 66 is listed.
Okay,
This sheet has the 1156.
Yeah.
okay.
So if we just read that list.
See, I have medicine head, I have cold medicine in me.
Okay, so what what number should we be voting on?
You'll be voting on 1156000. That will be the transfers to capital reserves on your comparative budget plus the 66,000 in sewer. We break out sewer because it's a different part of the budget. So you see sewer on the bottom?
Yep. And what was the total again?
1,156,000.
Okay.
That will be the warrant article that we have.
Okay.
Yeah, she's going to read out the individual ones.
Okay.
I am? Okay.
Or I'll do it if you.
Nope,
Yeah,
I got it.
I can do it too.
I got it. All right, you guys ready?
Yep.
So we've got $54,000 going into the fire breathing apparatus capital reserve fund? Are they going to vote after each one or
No,
just the whole thing? Okay. They got $116,000 going into the fire vehicle capital reserve fund. I have $500,000 going into the highway equipment replacement fund. I have $100,000 going into the sidewalk capital reserve. $200,000 going into Tracy Memorial Library repair capital reserve. $100,000 going into the town building maintenance capital reserve. $20,000 going into energy projects capital reserve. And $66,000 going into the sewer department capital reserve fund.
Any discussion on those capital reserve items? I know we discussed many of those last week, but. Any comments or discussion?
Question?
Yep, go ahead.
So the 1,156,000, we're looking at 1,090,000 on the sheet.
Yep.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right. I will make a motion to accept $1,156,000 to capital reserves. Any second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. What's next on the list, Kim? Sewer
The
operating?
sewer fund, yep.
So the 136?
Well, I think it's 108, is that a 3? Yeah.
136.
I gotta get new glasses here.
831.
What is that?
I used to make fun of people who did this, and this is what I'm doing now.
$1,036,800.
Yes.
Correct.
All right, so sewer operating fund, $1,036,831. Any discussion? Any motions?
I'll make a motion.
Motion from John, any seconds? Second from Meg, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. That's the last thing, Kim?
Yep, is that it, Lynn? Sorry,
Yes,
if
do
anybody
you
wants to
wanna-
discuss. Now, Lynn, why don't you let them know what you changed, taking out the 2 million and,
Took out 2 million, added in $955,000. I think that's about all that I changed. Yeah.
Yep, Karen, sorry, go ahead.
No worries. In terms of all what we're looking at under 4901 and 4909, capital outlay, land, vehicles, buildings, improvements, do they get voted on?
Well, that's what I'm going to pull in from the capital reserve funds
Okay.
for anything, any capital outlay of the big equipment.
So I'm not following. So where does we have these three, 1, 2, 3, 4 items on our sheet related to capital outlay, land vehicles, building improvements. Do we not vote on those? Are
Right,
they
so
embedded
tho-
in some other number?
Right, those are the list of things I just read to you, that's what I found right here, the warrant articles. So we have the 955. So you have capital outlays, land, 955. Is that what you're looking at?
The one we just,
The 1,156,000
yeah, the 1,090,000 plus the 66,000 is the 1,156,000. I get that. But then I see we have 2,115,000, the warrant articles, I
Right,
guess.
so those are warrant articles.
Yeah.
Yep, so the first one is 955, that is for the land.
Yeah, how do we address those or not?
Yes, that list of ones that I just read out, you will be recommending or not. So these are, unlike the budget that you just, the operating budget,
Yep.
you could have changed those up or down. These amounts, the selectmen are going to put on the warrant, your job will be to recommend or not. And we will go through those individually. You can either do that tonight or at your public hearing, but they will be on the warrant. And again, there could be more. If somebody comes in with a petition warrant article, there could be additional ones. But those ones I read are the ones that we know of right now, and you will need to recommend or not.
And that'll be at some future vote.
Well, it could be tonight.
It could be
But
tonight. No, I get it, but
Yeah, yeah.
just before I flip the page, thank you.
No, no,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to, I think it's a good idea. We have everybody here tonight. We can certainly go through each one individually and recommend or do not recommend as a committee. So do we want to start with the capital outlay of land at 955,000?
Are we doing it the same, making a motion? Or,
No, we're not making motions to change the money.
No,
We're
you're gonna
just
now-
recommending or not
Right.
recommending.
okay, I move we recommend it.
Well, let's have any discussion first.
Right, so this is the one that is on the purchase of the land and the site work that the selectmen would like to do on the Seamans Road property. And there will be asking voters to approve $955,000. Yeah, well, the land is 350,000, so the rest of the money will be used for surveying costs, site work, boring work, anything, design work for a potential police station so we can see what it would look like.
So you had said 350 for the land, 50K for closing, and the rest for excavating, design work, et cetera, for a total of 955.
Yep.
Charlie, did you have your hand up?
Just clarification. In the event the engineering, preliminary engineering of the Seamans site finds significant issues such as ledge, water, et cetera, that would increase the cost build of that facility and put it above the bonded limit we have, the town has the option to move on to another site. Even though there will have been monies expended under the appropriation of the 555,000, within which is some of the engineering cost. And that's that provision, that's a, if we get down to that place and it deems the facility is going to be compromised because of the cost limitation, we have an out as a town, both in the P&S, but we also have an out, even though the money would have been expended, to then go to Plan B, whatever Plan B might be.
Right. The selectmen would come back to town meeting.
But the money would still be appropriated for the purpose of a new police facility,
It would
a
be
portion of it.
the 955,000, the selectmen would purchase the land,
Got it?
and they would subdivide it, make it, an individual lot, and they would start that investigation. So I think what you're saying is if they got into that investigation, say
Yes.
they spent 50,000 or 100,000, and they felt that it was not going to be appropriate for a police station, they would probably stop the work there, And they would go back to town meeting and say, hey, guys, what would you like to do with this? Do we want to spend more money to remediate whatever they find? Do you want to keep the property and use it for something else? Do you want to sell it? And as Bibi mentioned, the current owners will retain a right to repurchase because they're agreeing to sell this to the town, but they don't want the town selling it to anybody else without their first having the choice to buy it back, to put it back into their own ownerships. Does that?
Yes.
That's kind of what you're saying, I think.
It's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Right.
Have we signed the purchase and sales yet?
No.
So we're being asked to vote on this article without a signed purchase and sales.
That's correct.
Yeah. Will we be able to, can we see the purchase and sales so that we can fully understand the contingencies?
You can see it once it's signed, but the contingencies that Bibi has laid out, the agreement to use dark skies, the repurchase for 15 years at $350,000, the entrance being a public way, and the reason it needs to be a public way is because the owners want to be able to, if they want, in the future, develop the back land. The area that the town is buying is the most likely place that they would have put a road in if they were to develop it. So they're willing to sell us this piece that they would have used for, to have access to the backland. And so what they're saying is, we need to build a road to the boundary line. It will be their expense, if they ever develop the back, to build a road to join the public way. So those are the conditions. There will be others. There's lots of others, and when you buy land, you know, we have to have clean title and all of those other things. I mean, there's just the typical conditions that we would enter into. But those are the four that actually will bind the town as far as use of the property. I mean, the selectmen are going to have a purchase and sale. We don't have to have a purchase and sale to buy property. I mean, it's not a requirement, but the selectmen will be doing it for this property.
I think it's really important that we have a view on what those contingencies actually look like. I mean, appreciate the summary, but I think this sounds very complicated, and as they can be, and the wording is really important. So the ability to do one's due diligence and evaluate assessing the contingencies in terms of moving forward, particularly that we haven't signed the purchase and sales yet. This seems a little fast in terms of the cart going a bit before the horse here. So I just want to share that perspective.
Thanks. Lindsay, you have a comment or question?
You actually used my analogy, and the cart before the horse. That's exactly the way we have to do it in New Hampshire. In order to appropriate those funds, it has to be brought as a warrant article in order to have the agreement to then make an offer. So it's a weird situation in a free market with real estate, but those are the constraints that we're working under in New Hampshire.
So we can take a vote, and again, the vote is to either recommend or do not recommend as a budget committee. Yep, Joe?
Joe Cardillo, resident. You are going to have to vote either tonight or next week, and they're going to look for a recommendation. A little clarity, I think, would be helpful and maybe put some budget committee members at ease, and we may not get that. But some of the, I don't want to say red flags, but as you enter into a purchase and sales agreement, especially this one, there's contingencies. I like the dark sky contingency, with down lighting. That's great. Very prudent on behalf of the seller to ask for a public road or way to go in there. My questions revolve around the road. Will the purchase and sales agreement spell out specifically, I heard tonight, Kim, you may have said it, or Bibi, you may have said it, that the road has to go around the back. So will the purchase and sales agreement spell out specifically where and how long this road is? And there's reasons for me asking this question, because inevitably, the voters are going to ask, well, we're buying the land for $350 and some money to do this, but then the added cost of building a town road, which the voters will be responsible for, we need to be prepared to answer that question. The only way to answer that question is to know if the P&S lays out the length of that road and where it will lay out. The other piece that is concerning is if we get to the unfortunate point where we've gone down the path, we have purchased the land, the town votes to do that, it's contingent on the vote, and we vote to do that. And for whatever reasons, added costs, we're not going to get the police building we'd like to have for our force, and we decide, okay, we're going to sell the land back. The contingency to build the road, is it specific enough to say that we will only build that road if the building is built? Because we don't want to get into a position where, all right, we now have to move to Site B or somewhere else, but in order to sell it back to the Garveys, we still have to put this road in before we do that. And I think that needs to be spelled out pretty clearly in the purchase and sales agreement to give everybody a comfort level.
Yeah, the road would not be built unless we have the money to build the police station and it actually gets built. To your first point, I doubt that the purchase and sale will be specific about the road because we don't know how long the road has to be until we know where the building's going to be. So
Right.
I don't think so.
So it is flexible enough to where the building's going to be. They're not going to say, we need it in exactly this area, so it abuts their land, so they can have extra road frontage to do their
No,
stuff.
this isn't about road frontage for
Okay.
them, no.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, we ready to vote on recommendation? So if you recommend the 955 for the capital outlay for land, raise your hand, aye. And do you oppose? Two oppositions. Okay, so the Budget Committee recommends as a whole. All right. $1,025,303 for vehicles and equipment.
Let's do each warrant article for the recommend or not.
Okay.
Okay, so the $132,303 is for the lease payment on Fire Engine 2.
Okay.
Does the board recommend or not recommend that
Raise
one?
your hand if you recommend. Okay, we recommend.
Next one up, $350,000 fire breathing apparatus.
Raise your hand if you recommend. Okay.
$275,000 new chassis for Tanker 1.
Raise your hand to recommend. Right.
Expendable trust fund with the deposit of $10,000 for the accumulated leave time payout to employees upon separation. That's the expendable trust fund.
Recommend. Go ahead, John.
10,000. Yeah, and that was what we had in the operating budget for the last couple of years. So it's now out of the operating budget.
Okay, does it say that in the warrant article?
Yep. 60,000 for the exterior repairs to Tracy Memorial Library.
Charlie? Oh, no, sorry, you're recommending. Sorry, I didn't know if you had a comment or a question. Okay, raise your hand if you're recommending. Interrupt me, though, if you have a question or comment.
$25,000 for the town website improvements, including ADA compliant layout.
Recommend.
And $40,000 for the town's historical markers refurbishment coming out of the Addie Gay Fund and the James Emery Fund.
Raise your hand to recommend. Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Did we do revenues yet? Did you mention those?
Do we have to do the,
No. The sewer one is agents to expend, right? Yeah. Yep, that's good.
so that's everything?
I think so.
We're sure, just want to make
Yeah,
sure.
and again, I mean, you may hear more at your public hearing, because that's on Wednesday. There could be, we did get one petition warrant article already, has nothing to do with money, so it doesn't come before you, but petitions could still come in.
Charlie, did we get your question answered on the capital outlay, the reduction from 225 to 7? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, revenues.
Karen's got a
Karen?
Thank you. Before we move on, this moved very quickly in terms of the vote on the 955. So if I could I just take a moment to share my perspective? I won't take long, I promise. It feels very rushed to me, and so that was weighing on my mind as well, that it feels rushed. And that we have a limit that we're trying to work within. I get that, but this is playing out in such a fast way, and without having, I think, the amount of downsizing that has to occur on the building to get it to conform with the expenditure requirement is just of concern to me. So that's my kind of broad view, is the speed in which this is all playing out as being something that weighs very heavily on my mind. And after having, been watching the process for a number of months now, for a lot of months now. So that is, just something I wanted to share with the group. Thank you.
Thank you. I would say, just in my own opinion, we've been talking about police and land for many, many, many years. So while I appreciate that this feels fast, it feels like we're finally coming to a decision. So that feels good that we're getting to that point to actually make a decision one way or the other as a town. Anything else to review?
So Lynn will be working hard, and I'm sure I'll help her. She's got a lot to put together for the public hearing, which will be a week from tonight. We'll have a lot of information. All of this will be laid out. We'll have pie charts. Everybody loves pie charts. Lynn will go to town on pie charts, assuming she's feeling better.
Are we advertising that we're having this meeting?
Yep.
On the road? Do we have that? Can we
Yeah,
use
we
the
can put,
flashing lights?
so tell your friends.
Tell your friends.
Can we get these packets well in advance of the meeting so that we know what you're talking about?
Right, and we usually do. I think we usually have this week off before the public hearing, but, usually you get it in a week in advance. But obviously, we just made decisions tonight. Lynn and I will start right tomorrow morning, right first thing. So we will try and get everything together. So you'll have all new 22 pages, the detailed stuff. You'll have the pie charts. You won't probably have the actual wording of the warrant, because the selectmen haven't finished the warrant, but these items that you just voted on, the amounts. The actual wording usually doesn't go to the public hearing, but you have all the amounts, where the money's coming from, all the revenues. Yeah. And hopefully we'll get it online. It'll all be posted online, so people who are interested in looking at it, so.
Okay.
But as soon as we get it, we'll email it to you, or we'll have the packets ready. You can come pick them up. In advance. We'll try hard to get it for this
Well-
weekend. I don't know. Right, Lynn?
Right.
She's going to get right on it tomorrow, she said, first thing.
That's why we have that software, right?
That's right.
Any other
Some other
business?
staff over there, they'll help.
Other business?
Yep, Karen has a
Other business.
other business comment.
Yes, I didn't want to forget this, so thank you. I wanted to put the idea forward. I think you had a similar meeting last year, that we put a postmortem, bad choice of words, but a review. If we could schedule one after, I think, the public hearing, which is next week, just to go over the process, both in a retrospective way and looking forward. I know there may be some members on the committee that won't be back next year by choice, so we will miss them, and I really think it'd be very nice to have their input as to what their experience has been and any ideas or that they may have for us, and also looking forward, ways in which we can do some things in the off-season potentially that could benefit us and help us be more informed on things as we move through a very fast season that's now coming to a close. So I thought I'd ask if we could put something on the calendar tonight after we have the public hearing, maybe the subsequent week, to get that scheduled.
Sure, I can follow up with Kim and just send an email out to see what dates might work for folks.
Thank you.
Okay, that's a good idea, thank you. Any other business? Yeah, I have one. Lou?
Yeah, again, I'm going to go on my soapbox that you've heard me before. And I think this committee has a tremendous impact on the town, and we could be doing it a lot better. However, the working of this committee is a bit stymied because we do not have a cohesive master plan, a strategic plan that we in this town can follow. The result is that you have silos in this town that by necessity have established their own master plans, and I'm looking at, for example, the Housing Commission, which is a wonderful start. The fire wardens, the police department. We do eventually, they need to coalesce in a town strategic plan that will guide this town over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, that we as a committee can then coalesce in supporting and making changes on that plan to make sure that we have the best town for the future. Doing it year by year, repeating the same thing really is a bit tedious, and I think we could be doing a lot better if we have a cohesive master plan. That's
All right. John?
I would second Lou's comments on that, but might suggest that BB take that to the selectmen as something they consider as a criteria for hiring the next town administrator, or something that might be an appropriate charge for them.
Great idea.
Question?
Yep, go ahead.
We've just gone through the sheet where we've done a line by line, department by department. Do we do a vote on the bottom on the total line, or is it the department by department? Does that stand as a vote?
Yeah, that stands on you as your vote for now. You have a public hearing, and then you'll do the MS 737, which will be the budget you actually sign.
Got it.
Right, and so we'll go over that at the public hearing. I'm kind of flipping through here, but you've seen it. It's
Yeah,
in-
I've
it's in
seen
here.
it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's a DRA form that you'll fill.
Thank you very much.
All right, any motions to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Any seconds? All those in favor? All right,
again.
have a good night.